People, when we tell you that some black faces in high places are the perfect tools of white supremacy, I give you Kemi Badenoch, aka Not Bad Enough, the first black British Conservative Party leader, the racial gatekeeping extraordinaire, whose unique selling point is to throw black people and her country of origin, Nigeria, under the bus at every given opportunity in order to prop herself up to white British people as, I'm really one of you. It's an accident of birth that I came out black, but I'm really white on the inside.
Oh, so fabulous.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel once again. It's your girl Dumebi. If this is your first time coming across my channel, you're welcome. I do hope you decide to subscribe, and if you are a returning subscriber, you're welcome back. It's so good to have you here once again. So first of all, my disclaimer, please, this video is strictly for educational purposes. Do not go searching out anybody that I talk about in this video. Don't send them any form of hate comments, threats, or violence. This channel does not support any of that. So I took a little break and I came back and I saw this topic. It's been in the news for maybe about 2 weeks or even more, but I just have to talk about it because I found this very interesting. Now, there's a UK politician by the person of Kemi Badenoch, who is the leader of the Conservative Party. She's the leader of the opposition, and this makes her in the running to become the next UK Prime Minister. She's Nigerian born, but she is a citizen of UK, and she's also married to a palm-colored person who I believe is also a UK citizen as well.
I grew up in Nigeria, and that is one of the things that fundamentally shaped my view of the world. I was born in Wimbledon, but till 16, that's where I pretty much lived. With bits and bobs in the US. So
she's been in the news on and off, Nigerian news as well, because of her political journey and the things she said, and also most recently the manifesto that she came out to read and what she had to say about immigration and the changes in immigration laws if she comes into power or if her party comes into power.
Britain is our home. It's not a hotel. It's time to tell the truth on immigration and propose real plans to do something about it. I want to reduce immigration and make living here actually mean something. We need to change the way our immigration system works. So I'm announcing that the Conservative Party is going to do the following things differently. 1. If you want to stay in our country permanently and apply for indefinite leave to remain, the time you have to live here before you apply will increase from 5 years to 10 years. 2. You will have to be a net contributor with a high enough salary, especially if you want to bring family members with you. And if you've got a criminal record, you're banned. 3. If you've claimed benefits or need social housing, you can't even apply. 4. We will increase the time before you can apply for a British passport from 12 months to 5 years, meaning it will take a minimum of 15 years to start an application. 5. If you enter this country illegally or outstay your visa, you will be banned from ever gaining leave to remain or a passport. These changes, on top of a strict numerical cap on numbers, will constitute the most robust changes ever made to our immigration system. Lower numbers, secure borders, and an immigration system that finally works for the British people.
So on hearing that, a lot of people have come out to say what they feel, and people have gone as far as bringing up her background. From everything that I've gathered, Kemi Badenoch was born in the UK, but her parents were not residing there at the time. Her mother traveled all the way to the UK while she was pregnant with Kemi, and that was where Kemi was born. And the law as at then allowed her to become a citizen of the UK by birth, after which she returned to Nigeria, where she lived until she was 16, which was when she returned back to the UK. So this would mean that her parents saw a loophole which they took to their advantage so that their daughter could be a citizen and have an opportunity to a better life. So a lot of people have questioned the fact that if your parents saw the need to take advantage of this immigration loophole to give you these opportunities that you're enjoying today, you should be the last person to come out to be talking about this kind of immigration laws that if they were existing during your time, you definitely would not be a citizen of the UK. So a lot of people are alarmed and disappointed by these immigration laws, and they are calling her out for basically snatching the rug from underneath people who want a better life, just the same way her parents wanted a better life for her.
Or a passport.
How does a third-generation immigrant even end up on this path? You're literally just a black poster girl. How did that happen? Which black man broke your heart? When she said that Africa and the Caribbean was too audacious and she couldn't understand why they even had the audacity to ask for reparations because the UK has not profited in any way of slavery, I knew the product build-up in them expired braids was getting to her head. I knew in that moment she was crazy. But this, you being a third-generation immigrant and then being the poster girl for these type of immigration rules, okay.
The issue here is not whether she's right or wrong. The issue here, like the video clearly states, is that she's being a hypocrite. So she got to benefit from liberal immigration policies that let her parents travel from Nigeria to the United Kingdom. Those policies allowed her to be born there and to be able to claim British citizenship. And it's exactly policies like that that she's opposed to. She wants to decrease legal migration like that. And now she says that the United Kingdom, that she was allowed to come and be born in and benefit from, is not a hotel. So make it make sense, because that's hypocrisy and that's wrong.
We should be deporting people more than we are now, even as we are in the ECHR.
So imagine this Nigeria sellout lady talking about how they want to deport immigrants from the United Kingdom. She's betraying the system that helped her. She herself, she's immigrant. She came to that United Kingdom when she was about 17 or 16 years with student visa. She overstayed even when the visa expired. She tried all her possible best to have a job there, started working McDonald's, then she got the document. After some years, she became a United Kingdom citizen. And now she's talking about she wants to deport people.
What worries me is that we'll say, we'll leave the ECHR, let's say we left it today, and I'm not against leaving the ECHR, but the problem still continues.
You can see the way the white guy is even looking at her. Like, what are you talking about? You just said you are immigrant, the system that helped you. Now you want to deport immigrants from the United Kingdom. You are trying to place these white people, the colonial masters, you understand? Because they know what they are doing. That's why they tend to put people like her in some certain position. So that when people like this are talking, nobody will complain of racism. Imagine she herself, in Nigeria, a full-grown lady. She was an adult before she even go to that UK. Now she's talking about we need, because that's what they want to be hearing. You saying that you want to block immigrants, you want to deport your people, and they'll be happy for you. Because that's what made them to even vote for that former prime minister, that Indian man. You know, that man was equally talking about how he want to deport people, he want to send them to Rwanda. She's doing the same thing because she wants them to accept her. Desperado, she's so desperate to hold this certain position.
Now, it is not just black people calling her out. Even palm-colored people are pointing out this exact same irony in the fact that you took advantage of this loophole in the immigration or the law as of that time to become a citizen, and now you are taking that opportunity from other people.
Yesterday, Kemi Badenoch announced that the way she's going to control immigration is by making it 15 years before you can apply to become a British citizen, right? This is from Kemi Badenoch. Now, you're probably aware that Kemi grew up in Nigeria with her family, but she was born here, and she, I know. Okay, trust me, follow me, hang on. Her mum flew over and used a loophole that we closed shortly afterwards. She flew here on a private jet, landed, got transferred from the airport straight to a private hospital, gave birth to Kemi Badenoch. Kemi Badenoch then, obviously, because she was born here, she got automatic citizenship here, right? Problem is, as soon as she was born and ready to go, her mum and her jumped on a plane and flew back to Nigeria for 15 years. And Kemi Badenoch lived a happy life out there, growing up with her parents out there. And then she came here to go to school because we got better schools. So she came over here, obviously, as a British citizen, even though her parents have paid no taxes, her parents have paid no money at all into this country, at all, for the 15 years that she was living in Nigeria. But she walked back in here with her birth certificate, went, ooh, I'm British, I can do what I want. Isn't that great? But she wants to deny that to everyone else in the world. Everyone else in the world. I mean, that loophole has now been closed, by the way. You can't do that anymore. You're not allowed to land, you have a baby, get British citizenship, then fuck off to another country. You can't do that anymore. But that's the one that Kemi Badenoch's parents used when she came here. Amazing that, isn't it, eh? Oh, but now she wants to stop everyone else having British citizenship because it's a right. Yeah, right, of course it is, yeah. Kemi Badenoch, you are full of fucking shit, love. Absolutely.
Kemi Badenoch is only British because her mother came here while pregnant. That same rule doesn't exist today, and now she is the one that wants to make immigration harder. The hypocrisy is insane. Badenoch's mother came to the UK while pregnant. Because of the laws at the time, Kemi was automatically a British citizen. That law doesn't exist anymore. If Kemi was born today, she would not even be British herself. And now she's pushing for immigration rules that would make it harder for families like hers to settle here.
Of course, not all cultures are equally valid. I don't believe in cultural relativism.
She wants to extend the residency requirement from 5 years to 10 years and ban them from permanent residency if they've ever needed social housing or benefits.
Particular background, particular class background, work background.
What background is that?
You know, people very, very poor.
So let's be real, if her mother came here under the rules that she's supporting, would Kemi even be here herself? This isn't about protecting Britain, this is about climbing the ladder and pulling it up behind her. She's not fixing immigration, she's just making sure nobody else gets the chances in life that she did.
Then another thing which I wasn't even aware of until I was doing research for this video was the fact that Kemi Badenoch had been in the news previously, I think as of December 2024 or November thereabout, and this was because of the way she seemed to always portray her home country, Nigeria, in a bad light almost at every opportunity, just like in these interviews.
Do you trust the British police?
I do. But you know, remember my experience with the police in Nigeria was very negative, and coming to the UK, my first experience with the police was very positive. You know, the police in Nigeria would rob us. So when people say, "Oh, I had this bad experience with the police because I'm black and they're white," I was like, "Well, you know, I remember the police stole my brother's shoes and his watch."
His shoes?
Yeah, they took his shoes and his watch. It's a very poor country, so you know, people do all sorts of things, and giving people a gun is just a license to intimidate. But that's not the bar we should use for British police. Obviously, it should be much higher. But my experience was so positive. When I was burgled, for example, the police were there, very helpful. They eventually caught the person. This is 2004, so 20 years ago. The police did catch criminals, and now we've given them too much to do, in my view. So the police are the first line of defense for everything, and I think that burden makes it a lot harder for them to actually do the basics, and that's another thing that we need to look at.
I was born here, but I grew up in a place where fear was everywhere. You cannot understand it unless you've lived it. Triple checking that all the doors and windows are locked, waking up in the night at every sound, listening as you hear your neighbors scream as they are being burgled and beaten, and wondering if your home will be next.
I chose this country because here I could breathe free and I could be everything that I wanted to be. I grew up in Nigeria and I saw firsthand what happens when politicians are in it for themselves, when they use public money as their private piggy banks, when they promise the earth and pollute not just the air but the whole political atmosphere with their failure to serve others. I saw what socialism means for millions. It's poverty and broken dreams. I came to Britain determined to make my way in a country where hard work and honest endeavour can take you on. I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you, Roxy. Lagos was a place where almost everything seemed broken. I grew up under a military dictatorship, and I would never have believed that 40 years later, I would be standing here as the leader of the world's most successful political party in the history of Western democracy. I was lucky in my experiences. I was born to a relatively wealthy family and had a decent education, but I also know what it is like to be poor. I watched my family become poor as their wealth, income and savings were inflated away by destructive government policies. But they didn't call it socialism, but it definitely was. Capital controls, no freedom of movement, government owning the means of production. And there was no freedom either. The government decided which school your child went to, it decided which businesses could or could not operate, all the way to arrests with no trial and state-sanctioned murder. So I know what freedom looks like. It's what I had in the UK. I know the values that can make citizens wealthier and happier, and how without them, they become engines of misery and despair. Classic liberal values, not left-wing liberalism, but classic liberalism of free markets, free speech, free enterprise, freedom of religion, the presumption of innocence and trusted institutions within the rule of law, and equality under the law, no matter who you are or where you come from. All of those things were missing when I was growing up as a child. So I know their value, and I know that in the West, we may be losing what made our countries great.
Kemi Badenoch was quoted as saying, "I find it interesting that everybody defines me as being Nigerian. I identify less with the country than with the specific identity that is Yoruba. That's what I really am. I have nothing in common with the people from the north of the country, the Boko Haram, where the Islamism is. Those were our ethnic enemies. And yet you end up being lumped in with those people." Kemi Badenoch.
Because I know what it is like to have something and then to lose it. And I don't want Britain to lose what it has. I grew up in a poor country, and I watched my relatively wealthy family become poorer and poorer and poorer, despite working harder and harder as their money disappeared with inflation. I came back to the UK, age 16, with my father's last £100 in the hope of a better life. So I have lived with the consequences of terrible governments that destroy lives, and I never, ever want that to happen here.
So she doesn't hesitate to talk about the fact that she lived in Nigeria and talk about how Nigeria is a poor country and how police is corrupt, the politicians are corrupt, and how it's difficult to achieve your dreams in Nigeria. And at some point, I thought this was just a politician doing what a politician does, talking about themselves in order to sound relatable or to sound like they also have struggles as well. But after watching a couple of her interviews and listening to what she had to say, it started to look like she did not hesitate to always bring Nigeria into the conversation and say something that did not portray the country in a positive light. And for someone who says she does not identify as a Nigerian, she definitely has a lot to say about the country. Speaking as a Nigerian who was born and bred in Nigeria, I am not here to defend my country, but I do not see the need to have to put down your country to allow these palm color people feel like you are one of them, because at the end of the day, you will never be seen as one of them. And when it comes to a lot of these politicians that I see doing well in politics in countries that actively oppressed and took advantage of our people, I definitely expect that there's some level of tap dancing that they have done to get to the level they have gotten to in politics in this country. So I am not shocked seeing her doing this.
Should we be embarrassed about our colonial past?
No, we don't need to be embarrassed about our colonial past. Every country in the world, at one point or another, either colonized or attempted to colonize another group of people. This is the past. We need to talk about the future. There are many countries now who want to use guilt to try and exploit the UK. They ask for reparations. I saw it as a trade minister. It's not culture wars. I was at the WTO. I won't name the minister from another country, and he was telling me that we needed to give up some of the things that we were doing because of colonialism and because they needed time to develop. These arguments are a scam. Don't fall for it. We need to make sure that we put this country first. We work well with our neighbors, we work well with other countries, but we have to look after ourselves too.
Black women saying that, they may find that hard to understand from you.
Well, there are many things that the British Empire got wrong, but there are many amazing things that the British Empire also did. And we need to be honest about that and stop pretending that it was all bad. The British Empire ended slavery, the Atlantic slave trade. We need to talk about that more. I grew up, as many of you know, I grew up in a Commonwealth country. Many people in those countries don't actually carry the baggage that a lot of the left-leaning commentariat want to put on our country. We need to look at how we can help other countries develop as best as they can. We did a lot to help many of those countries. We can do more again. I would like to see that. But the answer is definitely not reparations.
Okay.
When I heard what she had to say about reparations, that was when it dawned on me that, okay, this is not someone that is highly disappointed in the state of her country and lashing out by saying all these negative things. This is somebody who is not for the people, not for black people.
I've been seeing a lot of Nigerian blogs, carry these news around. Like, oh, Kemi, a Nigerian. I'm like, yes, she's Nigerian, of course, Kemi, Ulua Kemi, or whatever her name is, but she's not there to represent us. She's not there to represent Nigerians, women, or Nigerians in general. She's not there to represent black women. She's not there to represent women in general, okay? Kemi is there as a puppet. No this and no peace. They've put Kemi there to make it look like, oh, a black woman, because they know how to get to us. So they've put Kemi in the forefront, but Kemi is just there as a face, and then they try to want us to fall for it. Obviously a lot of people know this, but I'm just saying it to people that don't know this. But Kemi is just there. There are so many people, there are so many layers at the top that they are controlling Kemi because she's a puppet. Okay, so she's not there to represent us.
So people are saying that we should be happy that Kemi Badenoch is the first black woman in Tory leadership, and regardless of our political views or opinions, this is a step forward for minorities. Are you okay? Because as far as I'm concerned, she is a mouthpiece for those narcissistic pricks that you call Tory party. And just like Rishi, she will be used to say what they're really thinking. And just like Rishi, they're going to try and push a racist, misogynistic agenda to suit them. And I'm sorry to all the black and brown Asian British people, what the fuck has Rishi, Preeti, Kemi, or anybody else did for minorities? Because as far as I'm concerned, they have contempt. They have contempt for us. These coloured mouthpieces, because I don't even think that they deserve to be called black and brown, these coloured mouthpieces will push these racist agendas and wouldn't think twice about the impact that it has on us.
But one thing that definitely struck me was when the Vice President of Nigeria came out to make a speech responding to the things she said about the country Nigeria.
Why is Kemi Badenoch getting beef from her home country? The Conservatives leader grew up in Nigeria, but she's now being criticised for not always having the kindest words for the African nation. Badenoch, who was born in London but spent most of her first 16 years in Nigeria, said in 2022 it was a place wrought with poverty and broken dreams. And this year she added that fear was everywhere in the country. But now Nigeria's vice president has hit back.
We are proud of her, in spite of her efforts at denigrating her nation of origin. She is entitled to her own opinions. She has even every right to remove the Kemi from her name. But that does not underscore the fact that the greatest black nation on earth is the nation called Nigeria.
Badenoch's spokesperson responded, Kemi is not interested in doing Nigeria's PR. She is the leader of the opposition in the UK.
Let's just play a few reactions and hear what people have to say.
Recently, Kemi Badenoch, the first black woman of Nigerian heritage to lead the British Conservative Party, made a bold and frankly troubling statement calling reparations for former colonies a scam. Just think about that word for a moment, scam. What does it bring to mind? For most of us, it conjures image of deception and trickery and dishonesty. Now, to apply that label to calls for reparations, something that's deeply rooted in the historical suffering of African and Caribbean communities, is not just dismissive, it's harmful. It paints those communities as con artists out to manipulate the system, when in reality, reparations are about justice. They're about acknowledging the brutal impact of colonization, slavery, and generations of exploitation that these communities are still grappling with today. Imagine being told that a call to heal from historical trauma, from generations of forced labor and cultural theft is a scam. It twists the narrative, turning Britain into a supposed victim, while making those communities fighting for justice appear greedy or deceitful. This isn't just a slip of the tongue. It's a tactic that distances Britain from the moral responsibility to confront its past actions and the economic and social imbalances that still persist today. Let's be clear about something. Reparations are not a handout or charity. They're a necessary step towards justice and healing. Think about it. What would it mean for countries like Nigeria, Jamaica, Zimbabwe, and so many others to receive reparations? It would mean an acknowledgement of their histories, their losses, an opportunity to build from the generational damage caused by colonial rule. And to call that a scam is to shut down the conversation, to paint those legitimate demands as somehow illegitimate or unworthy. Words like this don't just damage discourse. They feed into dangerous stereotypes that cast black people as undeserving or schemers.
A lot of Nigerians are ignorant of what Kemi is doing. What is Kemi doing? Kemi is subjugating her own people to make Britain look good in the face of white nationalists. It's a deliberate attempt. These white nationalists believed in colonialism. They believe that black people are subservient to them. These were the same people that sold black people in slave markets. So these white nationalists have a mentality. Kemi feeds into the mentality by doing something called confirmation bias, that the black people you subjugated over the years remain down. So it's good for her to say these things bad about her country, so that the white nationalists and the supremacists she's trying to kill her to get their votes, will continue to support her. Secondly, she also made another fallacy by saying, no, you can't say, okay, I'm directly Yoruba and not want to identify with Nigeria, because this is the country that bet you. Secondly, she also made another fallacy by saying the people of the north are our ethnic enemies. They are never our ethnic enemies. We don't have any ethnic enemies in this country. You might have disagreements with people from other parts of the country, even your fellow Yorubas, but it doesn't mean you're ethnic enemies. Because, and that's why I think the Nigerian government should write the British government like Kemi Badenoch. It is messages like this that spur a redentist and divisive nature.
Yes.
Because when you start to say things like this, you forget this was the same narrative they were spewing in the 60s during the Civil War, when the October massacre happened, when people were killed in Kano. This was the same narrative.
All right.
It's not my business if Kemi becomes prime minister or not. Agula Abutete, she will do a tenure or two and leave there in the end. But it's the damage she will have given and the way she will have emboldened people with all sorts of racial confirmation bias that I'm scared about in the country.
People, I don't know if you saw that interview with Kemi Badenoch, that she said there are many countries that are trying to use guilt to get reparations from the UK, something along those lines. It had to be a Nigerian, a freaking Nigerian. And my namesake at that. Auntie Kemi the joy. Auntie Kemi, my goodness, your ancestors, they went through hell. And you would think they gave birth to this woman in the UK. They literally brought her here at the age of like 16. No. Where did we go wrong? Where did we... Auntie Kemi, fear God, oh. And you see all the problems that is going on in Africa and the people that have been affected by the colonial exploits. And you're still saying that... I'm so flabbergasted. I don't know what to say. My Lord, it has to be you Nigerians.
Nigerians don't feel a sense of belonging in their own country. Nigerians feel more fear and anxiety in their country. Most Nigerians will say worse things than Kemi Badenoch if they are given the chance to. Some Nigerians are just suffering and smiling because they don't have the chance, they don't have the voice, they can't even speak, else they'll be intimidated. So imagine that a person with so much burden find themselves in a place where they can speak out without the Nigerian government coming for them. They will say everything that needs to be said. Even Kemi Badenoch is not even saying anything compared to what some Nigerians are waiting to reply the Nigerian government. Honestly, because the funny thing is that Kemi Badenoch is telling the truth about the current state of the government. They have not come out to say that she's telling lies. So imagine what a whole lot of Nigerians are waiting to spill about the current state of the country.
So you guys have heard what everyone said. I want to know what you guys think about this whole situation. First of all, what do you think about her manifesto and the possible changes in the immigration laws that she's proposing if she were to win and come into power? And secondly, what do you think about these conversations where she keeps bringing up Nigeria? What do you guys also think about what she had to say about reparations and also this political strategy of taking a melanated person, either black or brown, and putting them as a mouthpiece and in a position where they have to say things that could be detrimental or prejudice to their own people? And these people who allow themselves become these mouthpieces and tap dance to these people who have anti-black biases. I want to know what you guys think. Let's have a conversation in the comment section. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.
And I want this country to be great for my children as well. We need to control it. We need to make sure that we are thinking about the next generation, not just who's going to write bottoms for us today. That's not good enough.
Okay. You understand? She's calling out people that they came to the United Kingdom to be cleaning bomb, this or that. They don't want that kind of people, so therefore she need to deport all of them. Self-hatred.
Rishi Sunak, the former British Prime Minister, is originally from India. He never denigrated his nation of ancestry, nor poured venoms on India. He is entitled to her own opinions. She has even every right to remove the Kemi from her name. But that does not underscore the fact that the greatest black nation on earth is the nation called Nigeria. 1 out of every 3 poor black men is a Nigerian. And by 2050, Nigeria will surpass the United States, will be the 3rd most populous nation on earth.